Well, hello everyone and welcome to The Basics of Life. My name is Ken Burkey, and Theresa McAdams, the Director of Common Ground, a food and clothing event, 52 Saturdays a year at Green Valley Community Church, is in the house. Welcome, Theresa.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good. I'm glad to be here.
Good. Hey, I'm excited. This is your first time here, and first of all, I'd just love for you to explain kind of what happens 52 Saturdays a year, what Common Ground is.
Sure. We are a distribution site for the Dorado County Food Bank, and every Saturday we open our doors and we have serve a hot breakfast to people while they wait in line to go get their food. And we have a kids program. We just open our doors to the community to go through the food bank.
And you also have clothing, right?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
We have a huge clothes closet as well.
Yeah, and you're not going to, well, you can brag on it, but let me brag on it first. It's pretty nice clothing. They do a great job.
Definitely. We actually, people can come in and even get clothes for a job interview, things like that, shoes.
Yeah. So the food that you supply, talk about that, because it's the food bank plus Green Valley has a garden. So there's fresh produce sometimes.
Sure. During the summer, we use our garden to supplement the food that we get from the food bank. So all summer long we have fresh fruits or vegetables that are picked that morning. We have volunteers out there in the morning picking fruit and vegetables.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I love about it is, and you kind of put this into place, is the experience people have. Because when people are coming to Common Ground for food, for necessities, they're also coming kind of maybe embarrassed or feeling alone, and so you and Common Ground has kind of created this atmosphere of acceptance.
Sure.
And but talk about the shopping experience that you kind of have allowed to happen. Because
Sure.
you're not just handing food to people.
No, we moved to what's called a choice model, and we found that when people are just handed a bag of food, you know, we want to raise the level of dignity for people coming to get food. And so we have it set up, if you can picture a produce department in a grocery store. That's how we have all of our perishables set up. And so people go through with a shopping cart. They have what we call the cart host, and who goes along with them. But we let people pick out, you know, if they're getting 10 oranges, they can pick the 10 oranges they want. There's dignity in that. So.
Right. Yeah, they get to, it does feel like a shopping experience, rather, like you said. And talk about the every person has a cart host, a volunteer.
Sure.
Talk about that journey and why that happens.
Well, we used to just, like I say, literally hand people a bag of food, and it definitely felt like a handout. But we wanted to create an experience, too, where the volunteer could do more than just say, hi, here you go, thank you for being here. You know, we wanted people to be able to get to know the person and have a conversation, and just so this way they grab their cart and their person, introduce themselves, and they go through the whole line together. So they're getting to have a conversation the whole time, get to know the people. They talk about the food or how they cook it or their family, different things like that.
Yeah, how's life, all of that. How
exactly.
many? These are like real shopping carts.
Yes.
Now we haven't stole the shopping carts from any shopping from any store.
No,
they were donated. Yeah,
yes.
they were donated. But how many shopping carts do we have on a Saturday morning?
Well, we have about, on average, about 150 families go through the line.
Wow.
So we have to, the cart host will have to run around and grab a new cart and go through the line again. So
it's a really cool experience, because just observing it, you just see relationships being built. And when people come back, they see a familiar face who's pushed a cart, who've talked to them, and then all of a sudden those relationships, how's your kids?
Exactly.
You know, how's your, you know, you had a job interview, how'd that go, or whatever the situation is.
Sure, and we actually have sometimes somebody will see somebody in line and say, oh, that's my person, I'll take them, or I want to push their cart, because they know the person. So
let me ask you a question, because of, okay, it's food, it's clothing, it's a warm breakfast, but, and then also there's always a message at the beginning, a message of hope, just a little bit of encouragement.
Sure. Before our food bank doors open, in the morning we have coffee, and people can sit and talking about creating that atmosphere. We have white tablecloths, you know. We have people who walk around and pour coffee, and so it's an actual dining experience for people, and then we have a short message and just create a nice atmosphere.
Yeah, I love the 5-minute message, because as people are waiting to eat, they really listen, because when you speak into people's lives that they matter and that God loves them, it's a pretty cool thing to see them kind of light up on that.
Yes, and sometimes we just showed our Easter video, and that just,
how'd that go?
A pin could drop. It went
Really?
over really well.
Wow.
Some people had tears in their eyes. It
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah, and the other thing you said about white tablecloths and real silverware, and then we have what we call pastoral partners, which are just people who kind of walk around seeing if there's any needs, anything they can pray for.
Sure, and pastoral partners, they have access to all the different community resources that are available, different classes and programs at Green Valley, and we've also started welcoming the CRC comes once a month,
and which is the Community Resource
yes,
Center, right?
So they're coming once a month, and we're going to have start having somebody from Senior Services come.
Wow. So which leads me to a great that's a great segue. Our guests that come, there's probably some people thinking, well, they just look a certain way, but talk about the diversity of guests and the different challenges that they're going through and why they're coming.
Sure, we have everything from small children, and which is why we have a great children's program for them, all the way up to, we have a lot of seniors. Probably about a third of our guests are seniors.
Wow.
We have homeless population come, as well as people who maybe have jobs, but they're just having a hard time making ends meet that month.
Yeah, I think that's a significant 1/3 are seniors, and they're on Social Security, or they're just trying to make ends meet. And in order that they're there, I think, for two reasons. They're there, hopefully, we can help them with food and clothing, but they're also there because of the connections.
Sure, we actually know we're doing a good job with creating a sense of community when our number for the people going through the grocery line is lower than the breakfast number, because that tells us people are coming just to have breakfast, and see their friends that they sit with every week. And
right, because you can only get so many bags of food a month, right?
Right.
As far as from the food bank, yeah. So they may come once a month to get the bag of food, but they keep coming back every Saturday for the warm breakfast and the connection. That's a very cool thing.
Yeah, we've had people, a group of ladies met in line one day, and now they've sat together ever since, and it's their community.
Yeah. The other one, that's huge. I mean, that's just huge, that sense of connection. The other one is you just see, like you said, young kids, single moms. Like you said, they have a job, but this month my car broke down, I got to get that fixed. So the food and all of that really supplements to keep them above water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So talk about the collaboration, because this happens at Green Valley. You are the leader from Green Valley over at Common Ground, but you partner with so many different organizations to make this happen. Talk about those organizations.
Sure. We actually average somewhere between 60 and 80 volunteers every Saturday.
Wow.
And that and people just come and check in. We have a welcome desk where they sign in, and we'll have people from different churches. We've had Bayside Church come regularly.
Cool.
We have a great relationship with Sun Hills Church in El Dorado Hills. And in fact, they have a team that comes and cooks breakfast every 5th Saturday.
Yeah.
And Hands for Hope is a great partnership. They come twice a month.
Talk about Hands for Hope for just a second. What is that?
Sure,
People don't know.
It's an organization for youth volunteers. And so it's great. They come in twice a month. It's all these kids with their Hands for Hope t-shirts on.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see them pushing the carts and helping the guests through. In fact, we had one lady who was kind of not real friendly with people, she just wasn't happy to be there. And I saw her once we started the cart hosting, and one of the Hands for Hope kids was pushing the carts, and we saw a completely different person. Wow. She started telling the kid what kind of vegetable that was and how she cooks it, and they had this great conversation, and we were all like,
wow.
We've never been able to break through that, but having the kids there is huge.
Yeah, and what a great lesson for these kids too, to see, to be a part of helping their community.
Definitely.
Cool. So other collaborations, well, you said Community Resource Center. Talk about that a little bit, that they're coming now to help connect people. Obviously, it's kind of self-explanatory.
Sure,
But.
and one of their specialties is housing. So people who are either homeless or just having a difficult time getting into housing, they're sitting down with people, filling out paperwork with them, and helping them through the process.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, and I think there's another, when you say 60 to 80 volunteers, another thing that's great about Common Ground, which starts at what time? What time does it?
The volunteers arrive at any time after 7 a.m. and we go to 11 a.m.
Right.
So it's any time in between.
Yeah, and but when you see families serving together, because it's a great place for families,
Yes.
you know, so for parents to bring their teenagers and serve together, that's a very cool thing.
Yes, and we have like I say, we have lots of students doing their school hours there. We can, sign off the community service hours for the kids doing their school hours. And another win is when the kids have finished their hours, but they keep coming back to serve.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that happens a lot.
Yes.
Because friendships are made, and it's like, well, they want to come back and see these amazing people. There's some amazing senior citizens that come on Saturday with amazing stories.
Yes.
So just talk about a couple of your highlights of some stories of impact that really has impacted you that you've seen here.
Sure. I think of, like you mentioned a single mom coming in, very nervous. You can tell it's the first time she's been there, doesn't know how the program works. She's never done that before. And we strategically have two people at the Welcome Center. So one person can check people in, and the other one can, just kind of take the person and show them around and walk them through the process and make them feel comfortable. Sit them down, pour them a cup of coffee, and kind of talk them through the process. So that, and I think of just an older gentleman who comes every week, and he's one of the people coming for breakfast, not necessarily getting food each week. And he talks about it being coming and seeing all of his friends there,
Yeah.
So
talk about the kids program too and the impact that has.
Sure, it's going back to the single mom. It's probably the first hot cup of coffee she's had
Right.
in a long time with the kids going in the kids program. It gives her a little break, lets her kind of go through the clothes closet, do some shopping, lets her go through the food line, and just have a little time without the kids. And they're in a great program. They're doing crafts. They're having a ball in there.
Yeah, and again, it's just kind of that safe place on a Saturday morning to come and, like you said, everybody take a breath, relax a little bit, get loved on, get prayed for if somebody needs prayer and all of that. So, Theresa McAdams, I got to ask you a question. You grew up middle class.
Yes.
And so here you are now over this thing called Common Ground. How has this impacted you as far as just, how's it impacted you?
Well, I think it's dispelled some of the myths. Not everybody is there to take advantage of a situation. These are real people who are, for whatever reason, are going through a hard time, and we need to help them out. I mean, these are basic needs: food and clothing. I feel like it's even not knowing their backstory. That's what we're there for.
Yeah,
So.
I think it's well said that there's always going to be people who will not take responsibility and maybe try to even take advantage of the system. But we see very little of that at Common Ground, especially like when you begin to connect in relationships.
Right.
And you begin to see that, this person's here for food and clothing, but really that's not their biggest need is. Their biggest need is they're lonely, or maybe they have some addiction issues, or whatever it is, and they're new to the community and they don't know where to go. So what I love about what you do at Common Ground is it's just a connection, because we've said it. When people get disconnected, that's when all of this stuff happens. And so if we can reconnect people to healthy relationships and safe relationships that care.
Yes.
Go ahead.
When you talked about, I think we had a vet who is in a wheelchair, and he's been working on trying to get an electric wheelchair. So we, through just sitting and having a conversation, I said, why don't you meet with our pastoral partners and see if there's some sort of resource out there. And that's what the pastoral partners do. So they started getting to work, and they're working on trying to figure out how to get him an electric wheelchair.
Wow.
So,
wow.
and that's what it's all about, like, because you talked about getting to know them.
Yeah.
When you get to know their story, it's not
Right.
about the food.
Right. And that's what the breakfast does. It slows down the process so that we can really get to know what those needs are, rather than, like you said, here's some food and move it along.
Right, or instead of people standing in a big long line outside the building. It's like, no, let's have everybody come in, sit down, have a hot breakfast, and it's also such a valuable experience for the volunteers. One of the chefs in the kitchen, every time I ask him, how you doing? He's like, favorite day of the month. You know,
Wow.
he serves once a month, and he's like, can't wait for this day each month. It's favorite day, so.
One other thing, too, there's quite a bit of people who have come to the Common Ground because they were in need, and they turned into volunteers. That's a pretty cool thing, too.
It is, it is.
Yeah.
And some people who are still getting food are also volunteering, you
Yeah.
know, and then I also have people who come and say, you know, I was here 5 years ago, and now I want to give back.
Wow. So if somebody's watching this show and they you know, maybe it's a mom or a dad's thinking, well, I'd love to bring my family and help serve. How can people come and serve?
Sure, we can accommodate drop-in volunteers. So you just, as soon as you come in our cafe, we have a welcome desk where we'll sign in volunteers. We'll get them a name badge, and we'll walk them around and show them all the different areas that they can serve.
And so a lot of times people kind of try different areas, and then they get kind of locked in. Oh, I really like this area, or I like the kitchen, or I like, you know, pushing a cart and those kind of things, depending on how you're wired up.
Yeah, and we have a lot of people who like to bust dishes. You know, there's a lot of
those
interaction with
those
people.
are called sick people. Those are.
So they pour coffee. You know.
Well, yeah. We know Dan Bittner, who, I mean, all he does, but he just walks around and keeps refilling people's coffees, and the conversations he gets into are just amazing.
Yeah, it's all relational, and that's what it's about. That's what I tell our volunteers before we open the doors. It's not about the food. It's not about the breakfast. It's about the people coming in, feeling welcome, treated with dignity and respect. I always tell people, try to get to know somebody's name today that you've never met. And it's also about volunteers serving together and getting to know each other and having that camaraderie of serving together.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it has a profound effect on people. I've been standing there, and you see people, it's been a long week, maybe the weather's bad, they're walking in, head down, and you'll see a volunteer just say, hey, and say their name, hey Jim, glad to see you today, and their whole countenance changes. And that's that word you keep saying, dignity. And I think that's the key. Awesome, thank you, Theresa. Any last words or anything you'd like to say? Or
no, I'd just like to welcome any volunteers to come and check us out, or if you're in need of food or clothing, we're there every Saturday.
Every Saturday. Good, thank you. And 60 to 80 volunteers, so what's great about it is we can never have enough volunteers, but if you show up to volunteer, you won't be the only one. There's plenty of others, so you won't be overwhelmed. So thank you for what you do.
All right,
Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Thanks for being with us here on the Basics of Life, and we will see you next time.